Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Kernels of Truth, brought to you by Progress Kentucky. We have got a really exciting episode for you this week. We have got a special guest coming on, Randy Cravins, who is running as a write-in candidate for the 6th District, the Bluegrass-centric 6th District. We're going to hear from him about why he decided to throw his hat in the ring against Andy Barr and Jeff Young. We also have got some important news to cover, a couple of different kind of court cases, one from the federal level, one from the state level, with, of course, the common thread being Mitch McConnell, because that's what we deal with here in Kentucky is Mitch McConnell. So it should be a great show. Appreciate you joining us. But before we get into it, we want to ask you one simple question. Are you ready to turn Kentucky purple? Look, folks, we are a poor state with poor health outcomes, yet we elect a GOP supermajority to do everything possible to cut government services and tribute to lowering the tax burden on rich folks in our Commonwealth. Instead of lowering the cost of insulin or supporting more social workers or raising our pathetically low minimum wage, we have got a gang in Frankfurt bound and determined to end access to abortion care, to end any efforts to increase gun safety in Kentucky. If you think this is completely backwards, we need your voice and your vote. If you want a Commonwealth that works for all of us, join Progress Kentucky. I say it every week, folks. It's easy. Follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, kind of wherever you spend time on social media. Make sure to like and share and comment on our content. If you like what you're hearing here on Kernels of Truth, just give us a thumbs up or leave us a review. Reviews matter. If you're listening to this as a podcast, reviews ensure that positive reviews, 5-star reviews, make sure more people hear about the show and the work that we're doing. So at any rate, I want to move into introducing our co-hosts. And of course, we're not some talking head show on the interwebs. We are a digital demonstration, as I said, for a more compassionate Commonwealth. So if you're going to show up at a demonstration, you got to bring a sign. Let me know who you are, where you are, and what does your protest sign say today. So my name is Aaron. I'm coming to you from Childsburg, a community in Lexington where all the houses are beige. And my sign says, against abortion, don't have one. That's me. Now let me throw to my wonderful co-host, Kimberly. You might be muted.
I thought we got past that, me being muted, but
Every week somebody's got to do it.
I know, right? So, my name is Kimberly Cecil Jones, and I'm coming to you live from Louisville, Kentucky. And my protest sign says today, so many times I've done it before, but look at my earrings.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Is that some sort of a Canadian maple leaf? Is that what that is?
No, it is cannabis leaf, okay? So, my protest sign says today, everything is all messed up. We need to make marijuana legal. It'll help.
It'll help. If we can't fix our political programs, at least we can distract ourselves a little bit better. I love it. All right, Kimberly. Thank you, Kimberly. And thank you again for joining us each and every week. And thanks for stepping up and hosting last week in my absence. I appreciate that. You guys did a great job.
Did I do a good job or
fantastic job? Fantastic job. All the fans on the internet said, "No, Aaron, stay away. Let's just leave it with these capable individuals." But I don't listen. I have all the logins, so you can't stop me, people. All right, let's check in with Doug for our commercial from Cynthiana.
Yeah, that's right. I've always got a commercial for Harrison County, where I live. Friday evening, you can come visit the Cynthiana Summer Concert Series featuring Honeychild. That'll be happening from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And you can stop by and say hi to the Harrison County Democratic Party folks. I hope to be at a table there for a while, so come see us.
I will not be making that trek, but it sounds lovely. I think folks should check it out. So
when gas prices get lower, I'll be out there, Doug. I have your back.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Gas prices. All right, so we got a couple of stories we want to throw at you. I'm going to just admit it right now because I feel like it's better to be transparent about these things. We are flying without a producer. So at the end of the show, we usually thank somebody for producing the show. At the end of this show, Kimberly's going to thank me or malign me because it's all in my hands at this point. And I'm just going to go ahead and apologize in advance that we might not have the cool graphics all the time. Oh, look, I'm going to put our logo back up in the corner. I forgot about that. There it is. There's the logo in the corner. You there listening on your iPod doesn't even exist anymore, do they? On the podcast, you don't see it, but there's a nice little Progress Kentucky logo that has been proudly displayed in the upper right-hand corner. Anyway, so there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes, and usually Annabelle does it or Nate does it. Now I'm going to try to do it while I also talk at you. So thankfully, I think this first story is actually going to be Doug's story. So I'm going to throw it to Doug, and then I'm going to maybe pull up an image or two if possible. But Doug, take it away with the news of the week.
Yes, sir. My article that I'm going to be talking about or issue is Dan Cameron's attempts to force Kentucky trigger law in effect. I want to provide some texture to this discussion, at first detailing the relationship between Daniel Cameron and Mitch McConnell, and then discuss recent events. The relationship likely began when Cameron attended undergraduate and law school at the University of Louisville. While at U of L, he was McConnell Scholar, and I believe was a walk-on player for the football team, maybe played in a couple of games. After school, he became a law clerk, followed by a stint as Mitch McConnell's attorney, where he worked to help appoint conservative Republicans to federal judgeships. Cameron ran for the Kentucky Attorney General's position with the full support, monetary and otherwise, of his mentor, Mitch, and became the first Republican Kentucky Attorney General since 1944. McConnell helped to set in place the overturn of Roe v. Wade, so it's only fitting that Cameron would help carry the torch in Kentucky. Kentucky Republicans have followed Mitch's lead in playing the long game. Many will recognize this is the name of a book McConnell wrote in 2016. Believe it or not, I now have an autographed copy of this book, a story that I will tell sometime after I've had the opportunity to share with my fellow Progress Kentucky people. In 2019, the Republican-controlled Kentucky legislature passed a trigger law that they hoped would effectively end abortions in Kentucky if the U.S. Supreme Court reversed Roe v. Wade. As you know, the U.S. Supreme Court published the 5-4 R v. Wade decision on June 24th. And please keep in mind that the 5-4 decision is primarily due to Mitch not allowing then President Obama's nomination to replace the deceased Ruth Bader Ginsburg. McConnell's reasoning being that he thought an appointment should not take place during a presidential election year and then rush through the Amy Coney Barrett during an election year. Had Mitch played fair and allowed Obama to nominate a justice, then perhaps we would not be discussing this situation. Based on the Roe v. Wade decision, Cameron filed a motion to cause all abortions to cease immediately and tied that in with the 2019 Kentucky trigger law that effectively ended all access to abortions in Kentucky if Roe versus Wade was overturned. Some experts point out that the Supreme Court decision does not really take effect until 25 days after the decision was announced. But don't let that get in the way of Cameron attempting to please his boss, Mitch McConnell. In a press release, Cameron said that under Kentucky's Human Life Protection Act, abortions are prohibited in most circumstances, and no person may knowingly cause or aid people in the termination of the life of an unborn human being. This is a quote from him, abortion is, for all intents and purposes, over here in the Commonwealth, with the exception of life. There is no rape or incest exception, Cameron said. Performing abortions is a Class D felony, but mothers are not subject to any criminal liability, according to this advisory. If a licensed physician determines with reasonable medical judgment that abortion is necessary to protect the mother's life, they can still perform the abortion without facing consequences, according to that advisory. 2 abortion providers, Planned Parenthood and EMW Women's Surgical Center, sued to obtain a restraining order. Circuit Court Judge Mitch Perry granted the request and blocked the trigger law from taking effect. Cameron then asked the Kentucky Court of Appeals to remove Perry's injunction because it would do irreparable harm to the state. The appeals court rejected his request over the weekend, leaving Cameron to ask the Kentucky Supreme Court to intervene. Kentucky's Supreme Court turned down a request from the Commonwealth's Republican Attorney General to reimpose an abortion ban this week. The Lexington Herald Leader said that Chief Justice John Minton denied the motion by AG Cameron late Monday, with Minton noting that his order expresses no opinion on the substantive issues of the matter. I'm not sure what Cameron's next step would be. An appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court would certainly be met with disdain. Separate but related issue is that Kentuckians will get the opportunity to vote against an amendment to our Kentucky Constitution that would allow the right to abortion to be removed from our Constitution. We should all stay tuned and, of course, remember to vote in November. Progressives need to help stop this runaway train that is Republican-controlled Kentucky, including the legislature and all of the constitutional officers, excluding the governor's office. Those are my comments, Aaron and Kimberly.
Yeah, it's good to see that the appeals court and the state Supreme Court told Dan Cameron to knock it off, right? So I guess the argument here is that there is in fact a right to an abortion in the state constitution, right to privacy, perhaps more explicit than in the U.S. Constitution, and that is why in Kentucky, despite the trigger law, the argument is made that that there's an ability for a woman to continue to have an abortion. I guess I don't know. It'll be interesting to see this play out. I think it all kind of does come down to that constitutional amendment in November. So plenty of reasons to get out and vote in November. Not just to get rid of Rand Paul or your local elected Republicans, or to stand up for your, folks who will stand up for women's right to choose. But yeah, really important story, and glad to see Dan Cameron, a 2-time loser on this issue, and hopefully that string stays intact. But yeah, nowhere else to go really at the state level. Kimberly, what did you think? You are muted.
Am I muted now?
You are not.
Okay, wonderful. I just agree with everything that Doug said. He's a policy wonk. He's going to do his research and due diligence, and he always bats 100 each and every time. So, I don't have anything to add to it except for it is what it is, and this is what we're dealing with. And the only way to make it right is that we energize people to GOTV. That's the only way things are going to change in this state, because it's going definitely backwards fast.
Oh yeah, terrifying. Like each and every, the SCOTUS term is over, so all the bad opinions have already come out. But yeah, it seemed like every opinion that came out was pretty bad. So states' rights for abortion, no states' rights for gun control, and the EPA shouldn't be regulating carbon emissions, because why in the world would the Environmental Protection Agency have a vested interest in protecting the environment from the terrors of climate change? Yeah, it definitely seems like everything they could weigh on they did, and it was all horrible. And as Doug noted, with a couple of stolen SCOTUS seats. I do think that's a bigger issue, right? And I'd be really interested to hear what from your guys' take. Like, what do you guys think the Democrats need to be doing on this issue to just ensure that people know what's at stake, right? So, I think everyone gets that, not everyone, but people who are paying attention, this is a big deal. The Roe v. Wade being overturned is a very big deal for women's health, women's rights. The fact that 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds are now going to be forced to, to carry their rapists' babies to term, outside of their ability to choose or their parents' ability to kind of weigh in on that, like, is just shocking to me, right? But I think it's shocking to a lot of people. But you don't elect a SCOTUS, right? So are people going to connect the dots, to come out and do things that would be fairly historic, right? We know that midterms are bad for the party in power. The Democrats are in power, but because of the power of the minority in the Senate, aren't really able to do as nearly as much as they would like to. And I think a lot of people are just kind of fed up with all the kind of, oh, politics is horrible. So, A, should I come out, or B, should I do anything to like not punish the party in power because they don't really like what's happening right now, whether it's gas prices or, the price of bread in the grocery store, all these things. It's like just kind of a lot of dissatisfaction with kind of where things are. But, are people able to connect the dots on this? I don't know. What do folks think about like?
I like to bring up something, if I may. The other night, what was it? Sunday night at about 10 or so in PM, I was talking to my daughter. I like it when all three of us was on there. I feel like, it's a family thing, Aaron, Mr. Producer. But what I was going to say is that I had a conversation with my daughter. First of all, she calls me on Facebook, video, and it's like 11 something in the morning there. It's already the 4th of July. And she says to me what most millennials are saying right now, Happy Colonizer Day. And I was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. And the conversation got into, Mom, I've been thinking about a couple of things. Okay, talk to me. One of those things is when I retire out of the Air Force, I'm truly thinking about retiring out in another country. She said, our country, it is just too chaotic. It's too much going on. It's going backwards. And I just feel that I can live the rest of my life in another country. So I asked my daughter, is this the consensus of a lot of people that you are in the Air Force with? And right now, as you well know, she's also around a lot of Army individuals as well. And so she said, yeah, this is the conversations running right now that, we don't want to come back to this country. They're turning back everything. It's going backwards. And she said, Mom, I'm really scared about coming back and being a Black woman. I said, you know what, Autumn? America does not understand that they could be losing their best and their brightest to other countries. And we're not really talking about that. And we're not really thinking about that. And right here in Kentucky, we're not even thinking or really talking about the implications of different conventions counseling already. Money that was supposed to be coming into our cities, our states, may not be there anymore. So that's a whole other can of worms to think about. But, I didn't even think about our millennials. They don't want to be here anymore. So what does a country do when you are unable to retain some of the best and brightest minds in the world? What is a country to do at that point? Does anybody think about that? Like, have you thought about that, Aaron or Doug?
Well, I haven't really thought that much about it. My wife and I have talked from time to time about moving to Vancouver, British Columbia. It's there are a lot of just really crazy things that are happening in America. But back to what Aaron asked about, I think in Kentucky, what we can do as Kentuckians, aside from voting, when that constitutional amendment, when we vote on that, we just need to make sure that we vote to let the Constitution remain as it is. So Kentuckians, women, will have the right to an abortion if that's something that medically necessary or something they choose or whatever. Something interesting I just want to throw out here. When Roe v. Wade was first announced, I saw several posts on Facebook where people were saying, if where you live, if they don't allow camping, you just come to my state, my house. I'll allow you to camp in my house however long you need to. Or if you need somebody to drive you somewhere to go camping, I'll be happy to do that. And, you know, they didn't reference what they were saying, but you knew what they were saying. And I think one thing that we can do as Kentuckians, maybe we can help spread the word in some swing states where there is a possibility for a Senate seat. We need, what, 2 Senate seats to flip? If we got 2 Senate seats to flip, then there's a lot of things that the administration could accomplish. But without Mitch being kind of in charge of everything, that's tough.
Yeah, but that's a really good actually transition to the story that I want to cover now. So I'm going to move on to what is going on with our courts. What is Mitch doing? Is Mitch cutting a deal with Biden? This is something that's been in the news a bit this past week. The story broke that that in the federal judiciary, U.S. District Court Judge Karen Caldwell is in Lexington. She plans to take senior status, which basically means she's retiring. They need to have a certain set number of judges who are actively taking cases. So that opens a seat for Biden to fill. And the scuttlebutt here is that he is going to nominate Chad Meredith, who is a horrible individual, right? So Chad Meredith is somebody that people probably know, unless you pay really, really close attention to some of the backroom dealings of the the judiciary or the governor, I guess the previous governor. So this guy is no good, right? And actually, Indivisible just sent me an action alert that I think is awesome, and I'm going to quote from that. So, in the wake of the Dobbs decision overturning Roe versus Wade, President Biden plans to nominate an anti-choice lawyer, Chad Meredith, to a lifetime judicial appointment in Kentucky, in what appears to be a quid pro quo deal with Mitch McConnell. Yep. You read that right. It's unacceptable. The decision is completely out of touch with the American people, 85% of whom think abortion should be legal in some or all circumstances. It would seat a justice whose views on abortion would directly harm health outcomes for people who get pregnant. So Chad Meredith is a member of the Federalist Society, of course, because all conservative nominees are members of the Federalist Society. This is the group of lawyers and law students and scholars and more that believe in reordering priorities within the legal system to place a premium on individual liberty, traditional values, and the rule of law. So in other words, rolling back constitutional rights for marginalized people, making it more difficult for the federal government to function. And that, as if that's not bad enough, he was actually the deputy counsel to Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin, and he defended a 2017 Kentucky law that required doctors performing abortions to first play the sound from the ultrasound while showing and describing the image to the patients. He also supported these controversial pardons and commutations at the end of Bevin's term, which actually led to an investigation by the FBI because there was some like accusations that seemed pretty credible to me that they had taken campaign contributions in exchange for pardons. So this guy is horrible. And why in the world would Joe Biden be nominating him for a lifetime appointment in the federal judiciary? So everyone's assuming that this is a deal that Mitch McConnell is cutting with Biden to maybe ease up on filibustering other judicial nominees and allowing for more of his the Biden administration selections to get seated. That would be big. That would be big on a lot of levels. But the problem is, of course, who in the world trusts Mitch McConnell? So if Mitch McConnell, who is, although he leads the minority party in the Senate, he's one minority vote. So if he gets his way, then you got 39 other guys lining up to cut deals for their appointments too, right? So it is really just, I think, a really, really bad idea. And that's not just me. Our friend Linda Blackford, who writes for the Herald Leader, points out the kind of Lucy and the football analogy, which I guess, a little tired, but I get it. Like, the fact that anyone who believes Mitch McConnell when it comes to like court appointments clearly is not paying attention. The guy is, will do anything in his power and like make up things he can do within his power to build a conservative judiciary forever. So I think Biden, this kind of plays to Biden's weaknesses, like this idea you can trust the other party and you got to work collaboratively and you get things done if you do so. I think that's all garbage. And I think Mitch McConnell gets the new reality. We just talked about it. Doug just mentioned it. They, stole a Senate, at least one Senate SCOTUS seat. You can argue they kind of stole two, but the reality of it is like they gamed the system to build their power. So Republicans, that's their game plan. Democrats are what? Like, we're just going to harken back to a time when you could trust the opposing party, or are we going to use the power we have to make the differences we need? So, Doug pointed out earlier, like we need to hold and flip two Senate seats to ensure that we actually don't have Manchin and Sinema blocking all efforts to filibuster things that matter, right? Or support the filibuster in ways that matter. So we need to get two senators elected who hold the Senate, and also get two elected senators who will say, yeah, I'm willing to filibuster, or end the filibuster for things that matter. That way, smart move here is we've got to expand the court. Like, really, you have this kind of SCOTUS that is horrible, that is, not representing, if you look at who's actually been elected to kind of who's got the popular vote and who they've appointed to the Senate or the SCOTUS, the Democrats are way down, right? Because that's actually who's won the popular vote is Democrats. Republicans have gamed the system to win and game their appointments. So if you look at who's actually representing the will of the actual people, not these minority states, it's the Democrats, but their views are not reflected on the Supreme Court. So it's really quite terrifying if you think of this last session's judicial rulings. Like, how much worse could it get? It could get a lot worse. It really could. They could keep peeling back these other rights, right? So, gay marriage is absolutely on the chopping block. If you listen to Clarence Thomas, and then Brown v. Board, like the whole set of decisions they think were fundamentally were decided wrong and in error that could be re-examined, and that is terrifying. And so again, I think it's like we've got power. The Supreme Court is created by the Constitution. The number of Supreme Court justices is not. That's up to the party in power to do something about that. I think it's time to expand the court to make sure that that these wingnuts are not the party in power there. They lied about their views to get appointed. They said Roe was settled law and then promptly unsettled that law. They said they respected precedent. They clearly do not respect precedent because Roe was a 50-year precedent. So yeah, I think Democrats need to play hardball, and I'm hopeful that people get that connection. Like, oh, I don't like these things that just happened, from the Supreme Court and are going to affect our lives. But yeah, also the only way to change that is to elect more Democrats. So we'll see if people are able to put that together. I hope the Democrats do a good job of saying that it's important, right? But we'll see. I don't know. Doug or Kimberly, you have any thoughts on Mitch's deal with Biden? Whether that's a good idea, and that's generally how we should be, how the Democrats should be approaching the Supreme Court and the courts in general.
The question I would ask of anybody, would you buy a used car from Mitch McConnell? Do you think that you would get a good deal from anything Mitch McConnell says or does? I guarantee you, if he made that promise, he already had determined in his mind what he was going to do to be able to say, "Oh, I didn't really mean that. I can't understand that you really thought that." He wanted to get his way, and hopefully that's not going to happen. Kimberly, you have any thoughts?
I have a lot of thoughts. Number one, I think this is taking all of the air out of the room for the first Black woman, Ketanji Brown Jackson, who was sworn in as the first Black woman SCOTUS. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, may I add. And I don't really hear people talking about that. That is history.
Oh, Jesus.
See,
sorry about that.
Black woman just don't get no
Just
respect.
completely pulled out of the broadcast. So that's my first big mistake today. So sorry. Yeah, no, clearly you're right, Kimberly. The bad news coming from SCOTUS has absolutely kind of, washed out the ability for the press to tell and remind us of this amazing story. I always say this. I was confused because there's a lot of attention paid to when she actually was, confirmed. Right. And then I'm like, oh, great. This is awesome. What's she going to do? And I'm looking at these decisions and like, wait, where's her name? Like I was a little confused. Like, oh, right. Breyer's going to see out the term and then she will be, but she's ready to go. And now she'll, Breyer's done and she'll be actually authoring opinions, a lot of minority opinions, a lot of dissents, unfortunately, right? Because the balance of the court does not shift whatsoever. She brings a new perspective. I'm very excited to see what she has to say and how she'll interact in the questions and hearings and whatnot. But it's a good point, Kimberly. Like it would just totally was kind of not in the news, but for like a brief moment if you paid attention.
And we have to think about other people other than ourselves all the time. This is a big moment. It was a big moment for me when I saw Michelle Obama walk into the White House. And it is equally as important to women that look like me when Ketanji Brown Jackson put her hand on that Bible with her husband holding it and him looking at her with so much admiration and the look of joy and accomplishment on her face that is going to be the catalyst for little Black girls all over the world, not just in this country, but all over this world to know that they possibly one day can have a real place in society other than second-class citizenship. And as far as Mitch McConnell and Biden, let me tell you this right now. I know a lot of people all over this country, in the UK, Scotland, Germany, as well as in Egypt. And I'm telling you right now, people all over this world, and I've talked to a lot of people that have to send in their absentee ballots, like my daughter, that are totally floored and flabbergasted that Biden is even going to run again. The jury's in. They're not going to vote for him. And it's making us look embarrassed, as we always do, to the world, that we don't know what the hell we're doing over here. And this is the best that we have. I'm just going to tell the truth, and the truth shall set us all free. Biden right now, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if he needs to take, some time off. I don't know what the situation is, but it's not looking good for us in 2024. It's not looking good for us in these midterms because of what's funneling down from the White House, such as I give kudos and, a hurrah. And if I had some pom-poms, I'd have those going on. And if my knees weren't so bad, I'd show you doing me. I show you that I would be doing a back handspring, because our wonderful governor, Andy Beshear, yesterday released emails from June the 23rd from the White House that proves that Biden had made a deal with Mitch McConnell. It went all the way to the White House, back again to, I forgot that chick's name. I just, and then have you all heard about the Blaxit happening at the White House? You heard of Brexit, right? They got Blaxit going on. So I understand the concept. My daughter was telling me about this, and then I saw it. 21 African Americans have left jobs. They were staffers in the White House, and it's not all in my soror's office. And I just want to tell you right now, yes, this is a raggedy t-shirt, but it says, Kamala is my sister. Yes, she is an AKA, so am I. However, 21 Black people have left the White House, and it's now called Blaxit. There's something wrong in the water in D.C. Our governor stood proud and stood strong to make sure that his constituency understood exactly what's going on. That chick in the White House is Kathleen Marshall, a former lieutenant governor in Nevada who joined the White House last year in August as a senior advisor to the governors in the Office of Intergovernmental Affairs. She's the one that sent the email that stated to be nominated tomorrow, Stephen Chad Meredith, candidate for the United States District Court for the Eastern District of Kentucky. In the subject line, it said, close hold. It's just asinine, and it's really, really, it's very much unmentionable, and I never thought that it would happen, and I'm not going to take up any more time, but I think it's very important because no one brought up about our governor bringing out the emails. No one brought up about Ketanji Brown Jackson. No one brought up about how so many Black staffers are leaving the White House, and nobody has brought up about how this situation, our young people do not want to live in America, and they sure as hell don't want to be here in Kentucky.
Yeah, a damning indictment from Kimberly Cecil Jones, who thinks that Biden should not run again, and that he is screwing up big time right now. So I will give you some agreement on the fact that that Andy Bashir is doing a great job. I'm sorry if that story, we missed that story that he'd released the email showing the deal, but that's horrible. But absolutely, it's a bad deal, as we all mentioned, and we shouldn't trust Mitch McConnell to do anything in terms of helping our democracy. So I wish we had more time for all of these stories, Kimberly, but we have already been a bit late in getting to our guest. So we do need to move into that. We're really excited, really glad to have with us tonight Randy Cravins, who is actually doing a pretty big thing for our democracy. After the state of the Kentucky 6th District race, where Jeff Young beat Chris Priest, we now have Randy running as a write-in candidate, which I think is really exciting because this is obviously Andy Barr is not somebody that represents my views, and as he works for the 6th District. He's up for re-election in November. This is a district that has in the past been competitive for Democrats. It's been redrawn, so it's not as competitive, but it is absolutely one that we should have strong opposition to Andy Barr for sure. So Randy Cravins has thrown his hat in as a writing candidate. Welcome, Randy. Thank you so much for joining us on Kernels of Truth. How are you doing today?
Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me. I'm doing great. I love the show so far. Thanks for letting me have some time.
Oh, no worries. So, tell me a little bit about what was it that led you to kind of declare your candidacy as a writing candidate? How does that even work? And what do we need to do to support you in your bid to beat Jeff Young and Andy Barr?
Well, really, the origination of the campaign went back to May 24th when the Uvalde shootings happened, and it's amazing to think and to try to comprehend over the last month and a half how much has happened in the country. We went from Uvalde to Roe v. Wade being overturned, to the Bruin decision, to Highland Park. We're really in the middle of a summer of discontent right now. And back after the Uvalde shootings happened, I took a look at things, and like so many others who have kids, I was wondering what I could do. And obviously, there's not a lot, especially when you live in a ruby red county and a ruby red state. It's tough. But looking out at the landscape, I looked at the congressional campaign. After the primary, I saw who the candidates were going to be, and both of them were proud of their NRA ranking on the NRA candidate quiz. Both of them have a lot more interest in propagating the gun culture in the United States than protecting our children. And I decided, after counseling with my wife, that this is a way I could try to make a difference. So I stepped into the race. Unbeknownst to me, how much would happen in the nation after stepping in. And from that point, now looking at all of the issues that we face as a country, it's a blessing to be in this race, to have registered and to be an official writing candidate. It's a blessing to have the support that I've had so far from many of my early supporters, many of whom are watching, and I thank them for being here. And having the opportunity to take the message forward, a positive message, a progressive message, and a democratic message to the residents of the 6th District.
That's great. Yeah, definitely in an interesting political system or political fight so far for the sixth district. And so you're saying that it really was the gun safety issue that kind of led you to get involved, because you weren't pleased with Andy Barr, of course, who's proudly an NRA supported candidate, like many, if not all, Republicans. And then what about? So are you saying that Jeff Young is pro gun as well? Is that part of your?
Jeff Young has stated publicly how he scored very well on the NRA candidate quiz, getting, I think, 12 of the 14 questions that he agreed with. That gave me a significant amount of pause when I saw that, to say the least. So that was the genesis of the campaign. Now, since the campaign started, so much more has happened. I've learned so much more. I've talked to folks locally here in Madison County and around the 6th District. I've heard their concerns, and there's not a lot being done to address those on either side of the campaign currently. Unfortunately, as you previously mentioned, the results of the Democratic primary resulted in Jeff Young being the candidate. Jeff Young is not a traditional Democrat by any stretch of the imagination. He doesn't represent the Democratic Party values. And quite frankly, if it doesn't involve the retweeting of Russian propaganda, there's not a lot of interest that I can see that he has in the 6th District. So my message to the voters, the progressive and Democratic voters of the 6th Congressional District, is this: if you want a Democratic candidate, if you want someone that believes in the right to choose, if you want someone that believes in common sense gun control, if you want someone that believes in the LGBTQ community, if you want someone who's going to fight and advocate for you and take that fight to Andy Barr, I'm your candidate. I am the Democratic candidate in this contest. And I would invite you to go to randycravins.com and find out more about me and more about the campaign and what we can do together to take this message to Washington.
That's great. So to do, if I, absolutely I intend to vote for you. So I'm got plenty of problems with Andy Barr, and Jeff Young is, as you say, his agenda does not seem like a Democratic agenda. His one, as far as I can tell, his one kind of campaign platform that he wanted to share with the world, it was to abolish the CIA. That is not my priority and not my primary concern about what happens in DC. Some crazy idea that's not going to go anywhere, so that you're deciding that that's the issue that you want to run on and get elected around is odd, right? So I intend to support you because I need an alternative, and you seem like a nice guy, and I definitely am a fan of your aggressive stance on gun control for sure. Obviously, there's a bipartisan initiative that's been signed into law. I'd love to get your thoughts on that. But as I walk into the polling booth, what do we do to vote for a write-in candidate? I don't usually bring my pencil with me when I go. How does this work?
I appreciate the question, because that's a message we're going to be getting out to the 6th district as the ballots are released, and we can actually show ballot images along with it. But in principle, what you will have to do is this. Unfortunately, the first step is that you're going to have to ignore the Democratic straight ticket. If you check the box for the Democratic straight ticket, that gets you Jeff Young, and that's not a choice you want to make. So you'll have to vote up and down the ballot for each and every Democratic candidate without exception, except one, and that's the House of Representatives race. In that race, you'll check the write-in box, and you'll write my last name, Cravins. It just has to be close, Cravens. If you write that in there, the vote counts for me because I'm a registered write-in candidate, and your voice will be heard. Go on down the rest of the ballot, say not only no, but hell no to the amendment about abortion, and submit your ballot. That's the best opportunity, if you're a progressive Democrat in the 6th Congressional District, to make sure that your voice is heard.
Good to know. That's great. So yeah, what do you think about the bipartisan gun safety legislation that the president signed into law after Uvalde and Buffalo?
I think it's not enough. Senator Chris Murphy, to his credit, the Democrat out of Connecticut, is a long-time staunch supporter of gun control regulations, and has done everything in his power to drag the Senate kicking and screaming to something. This is something that he's got that Biden has signed, but something's not enough. It's not enough to send block grants to states and ask, pretty please, to Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, please, pretty please, use these for red flag laws. Use these to institute background checks. The efficacy of that is seen if you look down in Florida to what the governor down there has done with the COVID relief money that was sent to their state. He's using it for tax cuts. Block grants are not the answer when we're facing an issue as serious as this. And quite frankly, it's time for Democrats to go on the offense. We've had enough time apologizing and pretending that this is an issue that isn't important when it's deadly critical. If you look at Highland Park just a couple of days ago, a 2-year-old kid was found underneath his parents who had been shot to death by an AR-15 by a 21-year-old white kid. It's the same story around the country, from state to state to state, from Columbine to Heath to Highland Park to Uvalde to everywhere in between. It's the same exact story, and we've got to make a change. We've got to do something. That's why I'm in the race, and that's why Democrats right across the state and the nation need to change their mindset and start going on offense.
For sure. So when you say going on offense, you mean we should be banning assault weapons like that? That's
well, you have to be pragmatic in your offense. You can't, especially in your Alabamas, your Mississippis, Kentucky. You're not going to win friends and influence people by saying, I'm coming to take your guns, because quite frankly, we're not. And that's never been the intention of any serious effort, Democratic or otherwise, to institute gun control. Voluntary buybacks are one thing, but they're not going to get you there if that's what you're looking for. What we need is just common sense legislation, raising the age to purchase assault weapons from 18 to 21, banning bump stocks. These are very simple measures that could be taken and adopted that could go over in red states, because they can still get the weapons that they want to see, but they have to do so in a more responsible nature. There has been legislation floated for instituting a federal excise tax on assault weapons. I'm fully in support of that. That way you have revenue that can pay for programs to do training and expanded background checks on those weapons. And in turn, making it more difficult for the folks to get a hold of those that don't need to have a hold of them.
Yeah, that all makes sense to me for sure. Just to be clear, I absolutely think it's rational and reasonable to outlaw assault weapons. We
Sure.
had an assault weapons ban in the past, and it worked. There were not the mass shootings with assault weapons during that ban. So I do think a voluntary buyback would be something, but I think it's like ban them and buy them back for sure. And we, the other stuff you mentioned, I think absolutely minimum age. I think we also need to close all the loopholes for background checks and give them lots more time to do those as thoroughly as necessary. But yeah, I will say this. I think, I concur that we need to be a lot more aggressive and go on the offense in terms of gun control. I think, Chris Murphy, as you mentioned, was very happy to see the president sign something. But I think it's remarkable that, we've gotten anything done. And that there was something that was able to be supported by 20 Republican senators is remarkable, and just shows that there's a clear outcry and need, right? So I think we take what we've got right now and celebrate it, but keep pushing for sure. So I'm going to throw it to, I think, either Kimberly or Doug. Doug, you have a question for Randy?
I don't really have a question. I just want to follow up on your views on gun control. We need to do something. That I think I'm going to be right in saying that an 18-year-old can't buy a handgun due to a federal law, but an 18-year-old can buy an automatic rifle. That it just makes no sense whatsoever to me. I too am happy that they passed some reform, but I also think it did not go near far enough. And I think hopefully that's something that when you're elected and others like you can get to Washington, you can help make that happen. I took a quick look at your website, and I kind of went down there and said, okay, yeah, check. Oh yeah, check. So I'm on board with you, and I encourage other people to go to your website and see who you are. And I know it's going to be difficult doing that right in, but I wish that we didn't have the click the Democratic and click the Republican or whatever. I think that needs to go away too. But I encourage everyone when that time comes to do the proper procedure and write it in. Kimberly, you have any ideas?
Yes, I also, how are you doing, Mr. Randy Cravins? Nice to
doing well.
see you this evening.
Pleasure to finally meet you.
So I just want to say this as well. We're talking about, gun control legislation, things like that. I am a gun owner. Nobody better mess with me because I'm a very good markswoman too. I just want to, let everybody know, don't mess with me.
Mhm.
So, but here goes another thing that we don't talk about sometimes, especially in our more impoverished areas, things of this nature. When we're talking about guns, these guns that are coming into, selected communities, murders and crimes are happening, are not always someone that was underage or was not supposed to get a gun, went to an actual store and bought one. Even in Washington, I haven't been hearing very much about what are we going to do. Because I say this is a team. There's no I in team. I'm not going to put it all on you. But what can we do to stop this onslaught of illegal guns coming into our communities, committing these heinous crimes?
Well, it's not an easy solution, clearly, because our nation is flooded with guns. There's no way that you can stop the flood that's already occurred. All you can do is hope to clean up the aftermath and to stem the tide. There's a gulf of injustice in this nation, and the water's rising every day. And that injustice involves firearms as well. These firearms are everywhere. Part of that is instituting the federal background checks, instituting the federal registry for gun purchases and transfers, ensuring that everything is logged. and that every transfer occurs legally, making sure that there are criminal penalties for those that don't. Again, the message has to be, we're making this safer for ourselves and for our kids. Not that we're going to take guns away, because there are plenty of good reasons to own a gun and to legally do so. It's the legally part and making sure that we define that. And going forward, I think that's going to be the solution, along with buybacks and other programs, of course. But we need to institute more regulation than there is today. And there's nothing in the Second Amendment that says we can't regulate gun ownership. It's in there that we can and we should. And I think that's going to be the next step going forward.
As long as everyone's a member of their well-regulated militia, I think you're right. They should have access to guns. So, Kimberly, I think you should probably be heading up your own battalion within the well-regulated militia. I wouldn't mess with you. But
no, I'm a one-woman show. But I do want to ask our next elected official here. I'm calling it, call those things that be not as though they are. I'm a true believer of that. So what do you think about Delta 8?
Well, let me put it to you this way. I think, and this is on my website clear as day, and I'm proud to say it, I believe that marijuana and its derivatives should have been legalized years ago. I believe it should be legal today. I don't believe that because I'm a person that uses marijuana or its derivatives, because I don't. However, marijuana does have great medical impact of a positive nature. It can help in many different ways. It is far less harmful than beer, wine, liquor, any of the other intoxicating substances that are legal currently. There is no reason why Kentucky should not do what every other state that is currently legalized it has done, including Illinois, a border state of ours, which is to legalize it, tax it, and
I'm from
regulate
Illinois.
It.
I'm from Illinois.
And she goes back regularly.
I grew up across the river from Illinois. That's why I don't have a heavy Kentucky accent. I'm Kentucky born and bred, but from Western Kentucky originally. And Illinois, if you live in Paducah, you're 45 minutes away from having access to legal marijuana. And there's no reason why it shouldn't be legal, regulated, and taxed here for consumption in one's own home. When we have so many other substances that are. It's a private decision by private individuals, and as long as you're an adult, go for it.
I think you've won over Kimberly Cecil Jones.
I can't vote for you, but I'm going to tell everybody in the 6th district to vote for you, most definitely. Because, when people smoke cannabis, marijuana, and I'm just going to call it weed, and we all remember that song by Rick James. You all remember that song called Mary Jane? No. Well, you don't, Mary Jane. Well, anyway, it was about marijuana, but the record executives thought it was about a girl named Mary Jane, so he was able to slip through it. But the only thing you ever see with people smoking marijuana is, they could just go ride each other out, laugh a lot. You could probably laugh about Mitch McConnell and, all that kind of stuff. And then you're just
need something more than weed to do that.
And then you just have to have enough snacks and food in the refrigerator. And nobody fights. Nobody shoots one another. Nobody does anything.
All right. And that commercial for legal weed brought to you by the woman with the weed earrings. If you didn't see it coming, clearly you need to get your eyesight checked. All right. So, Randy, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck on the campaign trail. I hope you get out there. I hope you shake a lot of babies and, kiss a lot of hands and do all the things you need to do to make sure people know you're running, that you're on the ballot. Honestly, I hope you haven't had a baby in the past month because I truly believe that was one of the reasons that, Chris Priest didn't make it past, he's a good dad. He spent a lot of time with his family, and this is not a job that you can get by spending a lot of time with your family unless you're like Amy McGrath and drag them all along with you on the campaign trail. And I tell you what, George is a terror. And there were a lot of campaign staff that had to deal with George and are scarred to this day. And probably will.
I've got kids, Amy's kids' age when she was on the trail, and we're doing the same thing.
All right, well,
It's fun. It's fun being a dad, and it's fun knowing that I'm going out there for them more than anything else. So.
and that is so true. And Kimberly's point earlier about, we do not want our best and brightest to leave the United States, let alone Kentucky, right? So I think it's absolutely imperative that people see a future they can believe in. And Andy Barr's future is just more of the same and worse, right? So this is something that needs to be done. Again, good on you for stepping up to a job that's going to be, a thankless task ahead of you. But I'm glad that people know, number one, go to your website and check it out and help out however they can. Make sure to not vote straight ticket, certainly not straight ticket Republican, and even not in this case, straight ticket Democrat, because you're going to need to vote for, a write-in candidate. Cravins, write it in there, Cravens. They'll probably take it with an I, but try to get it right just on principle. But yeah, Randy, thank you so much for joining us. Any other things you'd like to share with our viewers before we head out?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And second, please support your Democratic candidates across the state. I'm making a big ask of folks in the 6th District to break that straight ticket. And I just ask that, support your folks in Madison County. Martina Jackson is incredible. Susan Centra, Sherlyn Stevenson, all of your Democrats up and down I-75 and from Pikeville to Paducah, please support them all. We need them. We need them for our future. We need them for our kids. We need them to break the supermajority in Frankfort. That is the most critical mission that we have, is to get Democrats elected across the board and get us a chance to let our governor do some work.
Absolutely. If you like the governor, and most people do, give him a legislature he can work with as opposed to one whose entire purpose is to make him as politically weak as possible. For sure. And you mentioned a couple of friends of this show, Martina and Sherlyn. So yeah, great folks. We're going to have more candidates on between now and November. We want to have as many on as possible so people can hear about them hear from them firsthand and why they need to support them. But yeah, Randy, great to have you on, and have a wonderful rest of your week. All right, so folks, we're going to now need to go close out our show.
We love Randy.
Yes, we do. Kimberly, do you want to close it out? Are you ready to do that?
Yes, sir, I can do that. Let me just pull up my notes. Okay. Take me one second here. Hey, I found the plug to my computer. Isn't that amazing?
That's awesome. It's the little victories, sometimes that
right?
really make you feel good.
I know, right? So we do have our call to action really quickly here. We really, really need you to take our poll. We're at exactly 200 responses. We need to hit 500. Can you just take a few minutes of your time, like right now, okay, and help us to pick the very, very worst actions of this terrible, horrible, no good, very bad legislature. Once we hit 500 responses, we are going to share with the media and help remind voters what the GOP supermajority is doing to our Commonwealth. I think everybody's starting to feel it right now. And we really need you to join our team. I know we beg, we cry, we come to you every week, but we need more people. We want to turn this state purple. We want our best and brightest to stay here. And that includes you to be on board with us. Yes, you can do it. Martin Luther King Jr. said it just takes one person to affect hundreds, and then they'll affect thousands, and then millions of people will be affected. Okay. So we are going to be back next week. Aaron, he's going to be back. You going to be back, Aaron?
I might. Yeah. We'll see.
Okay. And we're going to be keeping you updated on Kentucky political news that you can use. And we always hope that you can log in and join us. Great shout out to Mr. Cravins tonight. He is amazing. And I normally I'm a little skeptical about those write-in ballots, but I think he has a sure shot I really do. Andy Barr needs to get the ham sandwich out of there. Disclaimer real quick. Progress Kentucky is a nonprofit organization registered with the Kentucky Secretary of State, organized as a what? 501c4, is affiliated with the Indivisible Project and the Commonwealth Alliance Voter Engagement, otherwise known as CAVE. Progress Kentucky's goal is to educate, organize, increase voter turnout, and advance a progressive agenda through civic engagement. Hey, Aaron, I'm going to have to be honest. You did a pretty good job tonight producing. And, but we are so happy that Annabelle Nigel, she will be coming back next week. Yay. And also, once again, our very, very own, close to our heart, Nate Orshan, is the one that composed the theme song. And you can find more information about his music on natosongs.com, nato.com. Okay. And if you miss our weekly live stream on Facebook, don't worry. You can rewatch shows and see our source links on our Facebook page, which is Progress Kentucky. Or you could just go to any of the major podcast platforms and you can hear us. Okay. But I know you want to see us, especially, beautiful me and my two other handsome gentlemen. And that would be Dougie Fresh and yes, Aaron, you look all right too. So, logo and some graphic content was provided by Couchfire Media. Go check them out at couchfiremedia.com. So, you know what I'm going to say, everybody? Just say it along with me. Do something nice for somebody this week. It's not going to cost you anything, right? Doesn't cost you anything to be nice to someone. Give them a compliment. You can find something nice about someone. I mean, with Mitch McConnell, oh, Mitch, maybe you look like you're alive today. You're not dead. Okay, whatever. But hey, you can find something nice about somebody and pay it forward. Okay, it's going to make your life better, make America better, and it's going to make Kentucky better. So I'm getting a phone call from our county judge executive here in Jefferson County. See you next week. Thank you for watching. Same bat channel, same time. We'll see you then. Have a good week.